Queen Seraphina stood at the highest balcony of her shattered citadel, staring at the horizon where dark smoke covered the once beautiful skies of Valeria. Her silver crown, once shining like a star, was now scratched and dull. Her royal armor carried dents and scorch marks, each one a reminder of battles lost, soldiers sacrificed, and cities burned. The world beneath her feet, her beloved planet, was dying. Once, Valeria had been a land of crystal towers, peaceful cities, and grand festivals. Its people were proud, strong, and noble. They believed their army was unstoppable. They believed no force in the galaxy could break them. But that was before. The Nullborn came. The Nullborn were not creatures of flesh. They were cold, emotionless machines, an endless swarm of metallic horrors that consumed worlds. They did not speak. They did not negotiate. They did not sleep. They simply arrived and erased everything in their path. For months, Seraphina and her army fought back. They used lasers, plasma cannons, swords, and shields made from stardust steel. They fought with discipline and pride, but the Nullborn never grew tired. Each time one machine was destroyed, two more replaced it. Villages fell. Cities crumbled. Forests burned to ash, and now, the capital itself was on the edge of ruin. "Your Majesty?" A soft voice spoke from behind her. Seraphina turned to see General Kale, her most loyal commander. His once golden armor was cracked. His left arm was wrapped in bandages. His face carried exhaustion, but his eyes still held loyalty. "The soldiers are ready," he said, bowing respectfully. "But morale is low. They do not believe help will come." Seraphine's heart tightened. She had heard the whispers. She had seen the fear in her soldiers' faces. Even the bravest warriors trembled softly when the distant mechanical roars echoed through the night. "How many remain?" she asked quietly. Kale hesitated. "Less than 2,000. Out of 30,000. Seraphina closed her eyes for a moment. 30,000 proud warriors. Reduced to barely a handful. "And civilians?" she asked, scattered. Kale replied. "Some in underground shelters, others hiding in caves. We try to protect as many as we can." Seraphina took a deep breath and moved away from the balcony. "Come, there's still one thing we must do." Kale followed her down the spiral staircase into the Hall of Echoes, a great chamber filled with glowing pillars that could transmit messages across galaxies. Countless times before, Seraphina had stood in this very room, not as a desperate queen begging for help, but as a ruler who offered strength to others. Now the roles were reversed. She stepped into the center of the platform. The pillars hummed to life with pale blue light. "All systems ready," Kale said. "We can send the signal again, if you wish." Seraphina looked up at the shimmering lights and swallowed hard. She had already sent 37 distress signals across the galaxy, and not a single one had been answered. But she could not stop. She would not stop. Not while her people still breathed. Activating the crystal console, she spoke clearly, her voice calm but heavy. "This is Queen Seraphina of planet Valeria. We are under attack by a hostile machine force known as the Nullborn. We seek aid from any civilization willing to answer. We offer no riches. We offer no land. Only our loyalty. An eternal friendship to those who stand with us. Please, hear us. Do not let our world fade into silence." Her words echoed through the chamber, then vanished into the stars. Silence followed. No reply, no signal, only emptiness. Kale lowered his head. "We have done all we can." But Seraphina did not step away. She kept staring at the console, as if hoping, praying that someone, somewhere, would answer. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, from helplessness. "Is this how it ends?" she thought. "Not in battle, but in silence?" Kale stepped closer. His voice softened. "My queen, if no one comes, we will still fight. Even if it is only the last 1,000 of us. We will not let you stand alone." She looked at him gratefully. "You have been my shield, Kale. I could not have asked for a better friend." He bowed again, till the last breath. Before more could be said, a thunderous explosion shook the citadel. Dust fell from the ceiling. The walls trembled as alarms blared. "They've breached the outer walls," shouted a guard rushing into the hall. "The Nullborn are advancing faster than expected." Kale immediately drew his energy blade. "I will rally the soldiers." Serafina nodded. "I will join you soon. Go." Kale left swiftly, his footsteps echoing down the corridor. Serafina stood alone once more. The ground rumbled beneath her. Distant metallic roars filled the air, echoing like the drums of doom. For a moment, she allowed herself weakness. She knelt on the cold crystal floor and whispered, not as a queen, but as a woman, "Please, someone, anyone, do not let this be the end of my people." She closed her eyes. A long moment passed. Then, something changed. The air shimmered faintly. A small beep echoed from the console. Seraphine's eyes snapped open. She rose quickly and stared at the display. The blue lights flickered. Incoming transmission detected. Her heart stopped. She pressed the receiver button with trembling fingers. Static filled the air. Then, a voice. Rugged, calm, firm. "This is Captain Elias Ward of the United Earth Coalition." "We received your signal," Serafina froze. Earth. She had heard of them, a young species from a distant star. Small in number, not part of any major alliance. Known more for their curiosity than their strength. But this voice. It did not sound weak. It sounded confident. She leaned closer to the console. "This is Queen Serafina of Valyria. Are you truly answering our call?" There was a brief pause. Then the voice replied, "We don't ignore those who ask for help." "Hold on, Queen. We're on our way." Her breath caught in her throat. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but she managed to whisper, "Thank you." Before she could say more, Kale rushed back into the room, panting. "Your Majesty?" The Nullborn he stopped when he saw her expression. "What happened?" Serafina turned to him, eyes shining for the first time in months. Someone answered. Kale blinked. "Who?" Serafina looked toward the sky beyond the shattered ceiling. "Humans." Kale stared at her, confused. "Are they strong?" She smiled faintly. "I do not know." Another explosion sounded outside. "But they are coming." Kale nodded slowly. "Then we will hold the line until they arrive." Serafina straightened her posture, lifting her chin proudly. "For Valyria," she said. Kale echoed firmly. "For Valyria." They marched out of the hall together. The ground shook. The sky burned. The enemy advanced, but for the first time, hope walked beside them. The sky above Valyria glimmered with unnatural light. For months, its people had lived under a blanket of fear. The Nullborn's metallic drones patrolled relentlessly, shimmering in silver and black, their mechanical arms ready to rip through walls, forests, and any living thing that stood in their path. But now, streaks of unfamiliar light appeared in the distance, weaving through the darkness. It was subtle at first. It's almost like faint stars moving unnaturally fast. Queen Serafina and General Kale stood atop the central citadel, watching the horizon with tense anticipation. The human fleet was approaching, not with massive warships or loud explosions, but with a quiet confidence that somehow seemed even more intimidating than the Nullborn themselves. 10 ships, Kale muttered, counting the lights. "That is all?" 10 ships against an endless swarm. Serafina did not answer. She could feel the weight of history pressing down on her. Entire worlds had fallen to the Nullborn. Entire empires had vanished. And yet, somehow, these humans were coming. A sudden transmission crackled over the coms. Captain Elias Ward's voice was calm, almost casual. "Queen Serafina, this is Captain Ward. Do not panic. We are coming. Hold your line. Follow our instructions. We will not fail." Kale glanced at the Queen. They sound confident, almost fearless. Humans have always surprised us. Their courage is unique. As the ships drew closer, the Nullborn drones reacted immediately. Swarms shifted direction, forming walls of metal and fire as if sensing an approaching threat. Energy pulses flashed from the drone's cores, warning any intruders to stay away. Yet the humans advanced without hesitation. The first human ship emerged from hyperspace with a bright humming trail. It was small, sleek, almost fragile-looking, but every movement radiated precision. The second and third ships followed, then the rest, moving in a perfectly coordinated formation. Each ship emitted waves of energy that interfered with the Nullborn's sensors, causing confusion among the enemy ranks. Queen Seraphine's jaw dropped. She had never seen technology move with such elegance and efficiency. They are not afraid, Kale whispered. Seraphine's eyes narrowed. Fear does not seem to exist in humans. It is their greatest strength, and perhaps their most dangerous. The Nullborn launched a massive assault immediately. Thousands of drones swarmed the citadel, lasers cutting through the air with deadly precision. Valerian soldiers fired back, their energy shields flaring and sparking under the relentless attacks. Every second was a fight for survival. Captain Ward's voice came over the comms again. Queen Seraphina, move your ground forces into formation. Spread thin lines to distract the drones while we disrupt their sensors. Focus on mobility, not strength. Seraphina quickly relayed orders. The remaining soldiers obeyed, forming skirmish lines between walls and barricades, just as Ward instructed. The humans were coordinating from space, yet their instructions were clear, precise, and effective. Kale looked around the battlefield. I have never seen tactics like this. Every move they make confuses the Nullborn. And the drones, they hesitate. They are not built to expect strategy from a smaller, weaker force. Indeed, the humans had introduced a strategy entirely different from anything the Valerians had ever known. Instead of brute force, they relied on deception, speed, and clever manipulation of energy fields. Drones were lured into traps, forced to collide, or blinded by electromagnetic flashes. The humans were using the Nullborn's own weaknesses against them. Queen Seraphina found herself moving among her troops, observing and guiding as best she could. For the first time in months, she felt hope. Humans were not just coming to save her people, they were changing the entire tide of battle. Hours passed. Waves of drones attacked relentlessly. Some Valerians fell, and the Nullborn's metallic screams echoed across the battlefield. Yet, with every human maneuver, more drones were disabled or destroyed, Your Majesty, soldier shouted, running to her side. The humans. They are amazing. They are charging into the swarm. Seraphina looked up. A squadron of human fighters had descended, weaving through enemy lines like lightning. Their energy swords flashed, drones exploded in controlled bursts, and small devices planted on drones caused chain reactions. Disabling large clusters of enemies, unbelievable, Kale muttered. They are tiny, yet they strike like a storm. Captain Ward's voice came over the comms once more, calm and commanding. Queen Seraphina, keep your people moving. Protect civilians. Focus on survival while we weaken the swarm. They may be numerous, but they are predictable. The Queen marveled at his words. So simple, yet so effective. Humans did not let numbers frighten them. They relied on intelligence, courage, and teamwork by evening. The Nullborn had lost hundreds of drones, their lines disorganized. Human ships swooped in repeatedly, striking where the drones were weakest. The Valerian army followed instructions, their morale rising with each successful maneuver. For the first time in months, civilians peered from hiding places. Children whispered names of their parents. Seeing their protectors not just fighting but winning alongside strange beings from the stars, Seraphina moved to a high tower, observing the battlefield. Her silver hair caught the faint glow from the humans' energy weapons. Her eyes were wide, her mind racing. We begged for help, she thought. We prayed someone would answer. And these humans. They came and they fight. Not for power, not for gold, but because it is right. Kale joined her. Your Majesty, he said softly, I thought this day would never come. I thought we would all perish. Seraphina nodded. Do not speak like that. Humans are here. We are not alone. Suddenly, a massive group of null-born drones advanced rapidly, heading straight for the Citadel's main gate. Valerian soldiers prepared to defend, but even their combined energy shields were not enough to stop the onslaught. "Hold them off until I give the signal," Seraphina shouted. Kale nodded and led the soldiers forward. The battle was intense. Drones clashed with humans and Valerians alike, explosions tearing the air. Then, just as the null-born swarm seemed unstoppable, the human fleet executed their main plan. Small pods dropped from the ships, releasing massive pulses of energy that disoriented the drones. Their formations collapsed. Drones collided with each other, some self-destructed, while others tumbled helplessly to the ground. "Impressive," Kale said in awe. "They are not just helping, they are controlling the battlefield." Seraphine's heart raced. She realized that humans had done something no alien army had managed. They had turned despair into hope, fear into courage. Hours continued with skirmishes and maneuvers. But every time the Nullborn tried to regroup, the humans anticipated their movements. Captain Ward's calm voice over the comms was like a guiding hand. "Do not hesitate. Trust your instincts, but follow the plan. Focus on survival and coordination." By nightfall, the Nullborn had been pushed back significantly. Their relentless march slowed. The ground that had been scorched earlier was now littered with fallen machines, disabled but still dangerous. Valerian soldiers were exhausted, yet their spirits had lifted. Seraphina moved among her people, encouraging them. "Look at what we have accomplished," she said. "We survived, we fight, and we are not alone. These humans, they have not only answered our call, they have reminded us of our strength and our hope." Kale placed a hand on her shoulder. "Your Majesty, they fight for what is right, not for conquest. Perhaps that is why they are so fearless. They fight because they believe in helping others." Seraphina nodded, her eyes reflecting the faint glow of distant stars. "Yes, and that belief is powerful. It spreads, even to us. Our courage grows because of them." A sudden alert flashed on the Citadel's surveillance screens. Another wave of drones approached, larger than before. Valerian soldiers prepared again. "Your Majesty," Kale said, "this may be the final wave for today. Are we ready?" Seraphina lifted her chin. "We will be ready. Humans fight beside us, and together we will not fall." Moments later, the first human ship descended, hovering near the ground, its lights illuminating the battlefield. A small team disembarked, their armor sleek and shining. They moved with confidence, scanning for threats, planting devices to disable the drones further. Their presence was reassuring. One human approached Seraphina directly. Captain Ward, tall and calm, smiled slightly. "Queen Seraphina," he said, "we are here. You are not alone anymore." She looked at him, her eyes wide. "Thank you." "For coming?" Ward nodded. "It is what we do. Those who call for help deserve a response. No one should face this alone." Seraphine's heart swelled with gratitude. For months, she had feared her people would vanish. Her world would be erased. And now, through courage and trust, hope had arrived in the form of humans. The night was far from over. Battles would continue. Drones would rise again. But for the first time, Queen Seraphina knew something vital. The humans were not just saviors, they were allies. And together, victory was possible. The sky above Valeria had become a chaotic battlefield. The null-born drones, relentless and endless, pressed harder than ever, determined to crush the Citadel and erase the planet entirely. Yet the Valerian army, bolstered by the humans, stood firm. Every corner of the battlefield echoed with the clash of energy weapons, explosions, and the rhythmic hum of human ships maneuvering precisely in orbit. Queen Seraphina observed from the balcony of her central citadel. Her armor bore fresh scorch marks, and fatigue weighed on her, yet her eyes were sharp with determination. Humans moved among her soldiers, coordinating attacks and repairing the walls even as drones smashed against barricades. Their courage was unmatched, and it seemed to spread like fire. lifting the spirits of the Valerians with every move. Captain Elias Ward's voice crackled over the comms, calm and firm. Queen Seraphina, focus your forces at the Citadel's main gates. We'll weaken the drone's central command. Once it's down, their entire swarm will falter. Seraphina nodded, relaying orders to General Kale. The soldiers moved into formation, shields raised, ready to confront the final wave. The humans had taught them to coordinate, to use speed, deception, and teamwork, rather than relying solely on brute force. And now, that training would be tested. Kale looked at Seraphina with concern. Your Majesty, even with the humans, this will be the most dangerous moment. She straightened, her silver hair flowing in the wind. Danger is nothing new. Courage is everything. We fight for Valyria, and we fight together. The Nullborn advanced in massive numbers, their metal bodies glinting under the fractured sunlight. Their leader, a towering core of black alloy and red sensors, emerged from the swarm. It commanded the drones with terrifying precision, moving as if the entire army were an extension of its own body. Stay calm, Ward instructed over comms. This is exactly what we trained for. The humans initiated their plan. Small pods deployed from the ships, releasing pulses of electromagnetic energy that jammed the Nullborn sensors. Drones wavered, paused, and collided, creating openings for both human and Valerian forces to strike. Explosions lit up the battlefield, but the humans pressed on without hesitation, charging into the swarm to place strategic devices that would overload the drones. Circuit Seraphina could not help but marvel. These beings, small in number and size, were fearless. They moved with precision and bravery that seemed impossible. Every Valyrian soldier who saw them was inspired to fight harder, to stand taller. Kale shouted to a group of soldiers, "Follow the humans. Their way is working." Valerian warriors rushed forward, coordinating with the humans. The Nullborn drones, which had once seemed unstoppable, began to falter under the combined strategy. Small groups of humans planted devices directly on the larger drones. Causing chain reactions that disabled dozens at a time, Seraphina joined the front lines. Her energy blade cutting through a wave of drones that had breached the barricade. She moved with grace and purpose, her soldiers rallying around her. Humans ran alongside her, their own blades flashing, their devices disabling the mechanical threat with incredible precision. Hours passed in a blur of combat. The Nullborn's central core remained strong, directing drones and sending waves of attacks, but each strike was met with coordinated resistance. The humans, unyielding, continued to anticipate every movement. Seraphina realized something profound. These beings were not just brave, they were relentless, and their courage was contagious. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the final phase began. Captain Ward's team deployed the largest electromagnetic pulse yet, designed to disrupt the core itself. Queen Seraphina, Ward's voice rang calm but serious. We are going to overload their command core. It is risky. Our ships may take damage. Be ready to act immediately. Seraphina nodded. Do what you must. We will follow. The pulse erupted in a brilliant flash, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. Drones toppled, collided, and froze mid-attack. The Nullborn leader core struggled, sparks flying from its sensors. For a moment, silence hung in the air, a fragile, tense pause. Then the core shook violently, unable to maintain control. The drones, now disoriented, began to fall apart, tumbling in disarray across the battlefield. Victory was within reach. Seraphina seized the moment. Forward. Do not let them recover. She shouted. Valerian soldiers surged with renewed energy, striking the remaining drones. Humans moved with perfect timing, disabling critical nodes, dismantling weapons, and clearing paths for the soldiers. The Nullborn, once a perfect storm of destruction, now fell piece by piece. Kale watched in awe. Never have I seen such bravery, such precision. These humans, they are extraordinary. Seraphina nodded, her gaze fixed on Captain Ward, who led his team with unmatched calm and courage. They fight for what is right, not for power, not for glory, only for honor and help. That is why they cannot be defeated. The Nullborn leader, sensing its failure, attempted one final desperate attack. A massive pulse of energy shot toward the citadel. Serafina stepped forward, raising her blade, channeling the last of her strength. Humans simultaneously fired coordinated energy beams from above. Intercepting the pulse and neutralizing it, the explosion shook the ground. But when the dust cleared, the Nullborn were gone. The sky was littered with fallen drones, sparking and silent. The citadel stood battered but unbroken. The humans and Valerians stood together, breathing heavily, victorious. Serafina slowly lowered her blade. Her body ached, her armor was scorched, but her spirit soared. She looked at the humans standing beside her, shining in the dim light of the broken battlefield. Captain Ward approached, nodding respectfully. "You did it," she said, her voice trembling with relief. Ward smiled. "We did it together." Valerians fought bravely. Humans just helped when they were needed most. Kale approached and bowed deeply. "Your Majesty, Captain, you have saved Valeria. I have seen many battles, but this is beyond anything I imagined." Serafina felt a swell of gratitude and pride. She realized the truth of something she had long suspected. Humans were extraordinary, not because of strength or numbers, but because of their courage, intelligence, and heart. She stepped forward and addressed her people, her voice ringing across the citadel. "People of Valeria, look at what we have done. We faced the impossible. We were told we would fall. Yet here we stand, alive and victorious. Not alone, but together with humans who risked everything to help us. Today we have learned that courage knows no bounds, and hope can come from the most unexpected places." The soldiers cheered. Their morale, battered for months, surged with pride. Civilians who had hidden in fear emerged from shelters, raising their hands in gratitude and awe toward the humans who had come to their aid. Captain Ward stepped beside Serafina. "Your people are strong. You fought well. We just gave you a hand." Serafina smiled, shaking her head slightly. "No, Captain. You gave us more than a hand. You gave us hope. You reminded us that no matter how dark the stars may seem, help can arrive, and courage can triumph. Today, humans and Valerians together have proven that even the impossible can be overcome." For the first time in months, she allowed herself a moment of relief. The Nullborn threat had been stopped, not destroyed completely, for they might return, but their attack had failed. Valeria had survived, and it had survived because humans chose to respond when no one else would. The Queen turned to Kale. "Send messages to our allies in neighboring worlds. Tell them what has happened. Tell them that humanity is not to be underestimated, not just for strength, but for courage and honor." Kale nodded. "It will be done, Your Majesty." As night fell, the battlefield was quiet except for the soft hum of human ships preparing to depart. The humans had accomplished their mission, and yet there was no arrogance in their actions. They had come, fought, and now prepared to leave. Serafina approached Captain Ward. "Will you stay with us, at least for a time?" she asked. Ward shook his head gently. "Our duty is to help those in need. There are other worlds out there, other calls for help. But know this, Queen Serafina, humans will answer when they are needed, and you will not be forgotten." Serafina felt a deep respect and gratitude. "Then let it be known across the stars, Valeria stands alive today because humans came when no one else would." Ward nodded, saluted, and returned to his ship. Slowly, the fleet rose into the sky, leaving a trail of shimmering light. The Nullborn were defeated, the Valerian people safe, and a new bond had been forged across the stars. Serafina looked over her world, battered but alive, and whispered to herself, "We begged the universe for help, and it came. Not as conquest, not as diplomacy, but as courage, honor, and heart. Humans, you are truly remarkable." The stars above shone brighter that night, reflecting hope and unity across the galaxy. Valeria would rebuild. Its people would heal, and the story of humans answering a desperate call would echo across civilizations for generations to come. For in the end, it was not the strongest who survived, but those who acted with courage when hope seemed lost. And on this night, humanity had reminded the universe of what true bravery could achieve.